Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm going to be attempting to beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Luvdisc. I can tell you this is not going to be fun, so I hope you all get some joy from my suffering. Now Luvdisc is bad, like really bad. Not only is it a really boring design, it has horrendous base stats, clocking in at a measly 330. And it does not evolve either, so this is as good as it gets. Now, Luvdisc does have a good speed stat at base 97. It also has the ability Swift Swim, which doubles its speed when the rain weather condition is in play. So, Luvdisc could be incredibly fast in certain scenarios, but that is all that it has going for it. I mean seriously. It has a fairly subpar defense stat of 55, and its HP is an abysmal 43. A wet paper bag could tank more hits than this thing. Its special defense is a little better, and offensively, Luvdisc is a special attacker, but the thing is, its special attack is worse than its defense stat. And if all that wasn't bad enough, its move pool is nothing short of atrocious. By level up, Luvdisc's only stab move is Water Gun, and that's pretty gross. By TM and HM, the most notable moves it can learn is Surf, Ice Beam, Dive, and Rain Dance. There is not much coverage on this thing, and the other offensive moves it can learn are physically damaging, and Luvdisc's attack stat is worse than its special. However, what I think could be interesting is utilising its prankster style moveset, which includes moves such as Lovely Kiss and Attract. Now, my idea is to use these moves to immobilise our opponents and confuse them, giving us a theoretical leg up in battle and survivability. However, this is extraordinarily luck based, but I think it could be interesting nevertheless. Another option is using Dive, which makes us invulnerable for half a turn, yet I don't see this being overly viable. Some overall thoughts on how this run will go. Well, I see my first major issue being Watson, the electric type gym leader. We have no moves that will hit him for super effective damage, and as mentioned before, no way to really tank a hit. Some other major concerns may be the 8th gym leader, who's a water type user, Glalie of the Elite Four, who's water and ice type, and of course the champion Wallace. Let us cross that bridge when it comes to it. Now, straight off the bat, I actually restart the game because my first Luvdisc had the Jolly nature, which will impede our special attack, and that just won't do. A special attack is our only form of offense. I reset and get a mild-natured Luvdisc, which raises special attack and lowers defense. Good and bad. We are already a glass cannon, well, more like a glass pistol, so I don't think the lowered defense growth will affect us too much. I named the Luvdisc Heartbreak, but really, the only heart it will be breaking is my own, for being such a goddamn asinine Pokemon. I even lost to the first rival battle 3 times because of my god-awful defense stat and damn crits. So, first up is Roxanne, and being a rock-type gym leader, we will make quick work of her. I venture through the early parts of the game to level Luvdisc up to level 12 and acquire Water Gun. In contrast to Slackoth, which I used in my previous run, this is a breeze. Being able to attack every turn now feels amazing. Okay, getting into the Roxanne fight. At level 15, I obviously destroy her. The Geodudes are a one-hit KO each, being double weak to water-type moves. Nosepass, however, is slightly tankier, and between Roxanne using potions and Nosepass's Oranberry, it does take a little bit longer to bring it down. And for a second there, I did think I was going to lose. However, despite getting hit with 2 Rock Tombs, which drops our speed, I still outsped the Nosepass, and once again, Nosepass is knows more. After Roxanne, there is an optional rival battle. I got my ass handed to me, so I decided to skip the fight and make my way straight to Dewford. I beat all the trainers in the gym and the city before entering the Octagon. Now, Brawly is a mixed bag to fight, because on one hand, my Luvdisc is incredibly physically weak. I have low defense and low HP, and his physical attacks just wreck me. But what is more than that is he often goes for attacks like Seismic Toss, which deals a set amount of damage, and because of Luvdisc's low HP, this is also bad news. So Machop I end up taking out, but I don't have much HP left, and because Medicham is trying to spam Focus Punch, I do take her out easy, but I just don't have the power to bring down Makuhita. Water Gun is a weak attack and it has a lot of bulk, so naturally Makuhita is proving difficult. It is at this point I stop attempting Brawly and travel east to Slateport. I take out the beach trainers and work my way up to the next rival fight. I was nervous about this, but on the way up to the fight I learned Takedown, which proves to be an effective physical attack despite my low attack stat. Having a terrible experience with Mei in my last video, I was so sure that this would go horribly. Let's get into the fight. Now her Wingull does minimal damage, but it can confuse me with Supersonic. In an ideal scenario, it will go for Supersonic and miss, but otherwise it'll go for a wing attack. I can take out Wingull in 2 hits. Next up, she sends out Grovyle, and this is a make or break. If I miss a takedown, I lose. Also, luckily enough, its Absorb isn't powerful enough to knock me out, and I can tank a few hits with the aid of an Oran Berry. So on my winning battle, I didn't miss any takedowns, and I tanked enough Absorbs to knock out Grovyle with 8 HP remaining. And thankfully her next Pokemon is Fire type, because we outspeed and one-shot Slugma with Water Gun. This is why speed is so important, and probably can attribute to why my Slackoth run took so damn long, other than Truant being a terrible ability. Now, if I thought Mei was going to be a headache, Watson is going to be so much worse. I defeat all the trainers in the surrounding areas before facing Watson, because I believe I'm going to need the levels. Watson differs from his Ruby and Sapphire counterpart. He has 4 Pokemon instead of 3, including an Electrike and a Manectric. At level 33, I get lucky on my first attempt. I crit his Voltorb and take out Electrike in 2 hits while it uses Howl. But then Magneton uses Thunder Wave and I get paralysed. Magneton takes away a bit of health, and then I get in another crit and take it out. So far, so good. Watson sends out his Manectric. Manectric goes first because I'm paralysed, and then critical hits me with Shockwave. But I probably would have died anyway. Fair is fair. I think I'm going to need to equip a Cherry Berry, which, if you don't know, cures paralysis. But, funnily enough, with all my foresight, it appears I had already used up all my Cherry Berries with access to no more. So, I try Watson several more times, but the furthest I can get to is Magneton. A few considerations. Voltorb can go for self-destruct, which will take about half my HP. It can also go for Spark, which has the chance to paralyze, which obviously we don't want. So I suppose ideally we need to cop a Shockwave and then take out Voltorb in 2 hits. Now Electrike will usually go for Howl or Leer, which allows us to take him out without receiving any damage. Magneton often leads with Thunder Wave, which would be great if I had a Cherry Berry, because I could get a free move in on it. Unfortunately, as mentioned earlier, I used my only Cherry Berry because I'm smart. I actually backtracked to Juford and took out Brawly, which I totally forgot about. He was of course a breeze because I'm so over leveled at this point. So the point of grinding was to reach level 36, which will give me access to Sweet Kiss. Sweet Kiss is a 70% accurate move that confuses the target, and as people say with Pokemon accuracy, if it's not 100%, it's 50%. Now another thing I want to mention is a move Attract. I can't actually use it against Watson's Manectric, because even though my Luvdisc bats for the other team, Watson's Manectric decidedly doesn't. But for real, the way this game is designed, Attract doesn't work on genderless Pokemon or Pokemon of the same gender. Otherwise it would probably be a little too broken. So I'm basically forced into hoping that Sweet Kiss hits first go and then I don't get paralysed. But chances aren't looking great right now, and there isn't any way for me to get a Cherry Berry to the best of my knowledge. Well, there is another option, and that is to grind money via the pickup ability until I can get Ice Beam from the game corner, which would allow me to deal more damage and one hit the Voltorb and Electrike, presumably. I need about 45k though, which would take me ages of grinding and I just wasn't feeling it. I decided it's probably worth it to just reset my attempt at this run and focus on 3 main things. Reset until I get a Luvdisc with an optimal nature and a female gender. The reason for a female gender is that all of the gym leader's Pokemon correspond with their gender. So if it's a male gym leader, it has a male Pokemon. If it's a female gym leader, a female Pokemon. So the most difficult gyms where I want to abuse the move Attract, they happen to be male. And the third reason I want to reset is to get the damn Cherry Berry. So after receiving my modest female Luvdisc, we run our way back up to Watson, flattening Roxanne, Brawly, and our rival on the way. And now I face him at level 30, and I still can't output enough damage to 2-shot Voltorb, which just won't do. So I grind up to level 33. So let's jump into the next battle and see how we go. And I'm telling you what, this battle really was a doozy. I received the brute force of a self-destruct from Voltorb, which takes about half of my HP, and I thought for sure that the fat lady had sung. But I trek through regardless, taking Electrike out in 2 moves, as it uses Howl and I outspeed. Now, this is where miracles start to happen. I use Water Gun on Magneton, and god damn it, I actually get a critical hit. Obviously I heal from the Thunder Wave with my newly acquired Cherry Berry, and I thought for sure, Watson would heal right away. But no, he doesn't. And I take out Magneton with half of my HP and no paralysis. And now I'm really holding my breath. I use Attract on Manectric and it hits. Okay, but that means nothing unless Manectric stays immobilized the entire battle, as I will die to 1 hit. And for 3 consecutive turns, Manectric stays immobilized. And then it heals with a Citrus. Fuck, right, okay, we just have to last another 2 or 3 turns without getting hit at 50% chance each turn. Yeah, definitely possible. So I go for Water Gun and it stays immobilized, but next turn I get hit and I thought for sure my luck had run out. Except that it doesn't, because I survive on 1 HP, but then Watson heals and I seriously thought that I couldn't win from there. But Manectric stays immobilized for 2 more turns and then I get a bloody critical hit. That was seriously one of the luckiest battles that I've ever had. I deserve that victory for all the strife Watson has put me through in the past.
A few moments later.
As expected, I wipe the floor with Flannery. I'm fairly over-leveled, and there is a consideration to restart this run again, as I could theoretically grind money, purchase Ice Beam from the game corner, and potentially beat Watson at a lower level with less luck-based tactics, but screw that. So, moving on to the Norman fight, and this fight is a true display of how RNG-based moves can be played effectively. It actually almost felt unfair. Although my Water Gun is barely damaging his Pokemon, the use of Attract is incredibly powerful. It helped me grind out Spinder, Vigoroth and Lanoon much more effectively. But once I got up to Slacking, I barely had any HP left. So I cannot get hit even once or I will lose. Luvdisc lays down the Smooth Talk on Slacking and it instantly falls in love. But I decide that's not enough, so I use Sweet Kiss on Slacking, which despite being a low accuracy move, I thought it's worth the risk. It hits and now Slacking is battling with its confusion and attraction every moving turn. And every other turn it's loafing around due to its ability Truant. I get its HP down, but Norman uses a Hyper Potion and then Slacking recovers from its confusion. I go for Sweet Kiss again and miss, but that's okay, it gets immobilized and I'm all good. Then I hit with Sweet Kiss and start chipping down with Water Gun, as Slacking cannot get an attack in. Then to finish it off, I get a critical hit and Slacking falls. Now that felt pretty gross, but it's about time the AI has a taste of its own medicine. After beating up my dad and taking his lunch money, I now have access to Surf, a powerful 90 base stab move. Things will be smooth sailing from here until at least Gym 8. I will make a consistent effort to avoid trainer battles where I can, because I don't want to overlevel much more than this. After Norman, I acquire Ice Beam, and then make my way to Winona. I only gain 3 levels between these two gyms. I mean, I'm almost at level 50, so of course this gym is going to be easy. I outspeed all of her Pokemon, and Ice Beam makes quick work on them. Other than Skarmory and Pelipper, which took a couple hits each. Yeah, so realistically, if I was 10 to 15 levels lower, I'd probably still sweep, but it would not be as consistent. Gym 7 I predict will also be easy due to the rock and ground typing Liza and Tate have. So, let's get right into it. And Gym 7 was not easy. In fact, it was incredibly difficult, mainly due to the fact that it was my single Luvdisc facing down 2 Pokemon at once. And yes, I have a non-attacking Magikarp in battle, because it's compulsory, but Magikarp only tanks 1 hit for me. The basic issue with Liza and Tate is that I cannot survive the battle. I need Ice Beam to one-shot the Xatu, but as you can see, it survives. So, I develop a slightly different strategy that relies heavily on luck, once again, and the fact I do have a Magikarp to tank a hit. I noticed that Xatu tends to aim for Magikarp as its first move, so I use Sweet Kiss on Claydol in the hopes that Claydol will hit itself in confusion. And while Sweet Kiss hits the Claydol, unfortunately it doesn't get confused on its first move. I receive some damage from Earthquake, and now that Magikarp has fainted from Psychic, the focus is on me and me alone. I go for Ice Beam on Xatu, and at level 59 I can take it down in 1 hit, but once again Claydol hits me with an Earthquake. Just great. The twins send out Soul Rock, which tends to go for Solar Beam, a charge up move that takes an additional turn to hit. I use Surf, which although hits both Pokemon at once and is super effective, it doesn't do enough damage to take them both out. And Claydol yet again hits me with an Earthquake, which low rolls its damage and I'm barely hanging on. This allows me to knock out both Pokemon with another Surf. There is a problem though. I still have to go through Lunatone, and as we have established, these Pokemon are fairly specially defensive, so I know that I can't take it out with 1 hit. I debate using Sweet Kiss to try and win via the confusion, or getting a critical hit from Surf. I opt to go for Surf, and surprise surprise, we win via a critical hit. This run is essentially based on good luck. Let's see if I can keep up the charade with Gym 8, Juan. As a side note, Juan is the only male gym leader in this entire game that has a female Pokemon, that being his Luvdisc. The cheeky bugger must have the same idea as me. So I'm going to break the suspense for a bit, not that there necessarily was any, but I actually beat Juan on my first try. A first try with multiple misplays as well. It was largely due to me being a higher level than him. I was able to take out most of his Pokemon with 2 or 3 Surfs, and even though I was on the brink of hanging on against his Kingdra, I got off an Attract and a Sweet Kiss, and I whittled Kingdra down, surviving a Water Pulse on the way. Gym 8 is over successfully, and now we move on to the main attraction, the Elite Four. Some spoilers, this was incredibly frustrating. Now, I'm not the only person to do this, but I will treat this Elite Four run as a gauntlet mode, meaning I can't save before each member and reset each time I lose. I have to go through and beat them all in one go. In large part, there is a lot of trial and error. I may be able to beat some members at a low level, but get completely walled by others, meaning I have to grind levels, and then I end up wiping the floor with some previous members. So you may see some variation on Luvdisc's level during this footage. Starting this gauntlet, Luvdisc is level 68, and Sydney is not really a challenge. I can consistently one-shot most of his Pokemon. However, the Surf on Mightyena is a range at this level, and if I can't one-shot, there is a risk of my accuracy getting lowered via Sand Attack, which can make this battle slightly more in his favour. but generally speaking, a Surf is enough for Mighty Enna, and an Ice Beam would do in both of his Grass-type Pokemon, Cacturn and Shiftry, with it sometimes being a range on Shiftry. Crawdaunt can survive a Surf, but due to its tendency to use Swords Dance, I can effectively take it out in 2 hits without taking damage. However, in this particular fight, because Shiftry used Torment, I can't use Surf twice in a row, and have to use Ice Beam, which Crawdaunt survives, leaving him in full restore range, which Sydney definitely does utilise. I use Surf again, in which Crawdaunt survives, then I go for a Tract hoping for an immobilisation. Crawdaunt takes me out and I have to start this all over again. Round 2 is basically a replay of what I just described. However, I don't get tormented, which allows me to power through and take out Absol, scoring me the victory. Now, for my first major obstacle, Phoebe the Freebie, which I genuinely did not expect to give me much trouble, but at my current level there is a multitude of things that could go wrong. Allow me to explain. Number 1, her first Dusclops can use Curse, which takes a quarter of my HP every turn until I faint, effectively giving me 4 turns to take out all 5 of her Pokemon. I think you can see how this is logistically impossible, so it's an instant reset if I get cursed. But let's assume I don't get cursed. At my current level, I can't take out her remaining Pokemon with 1 shot. They're often left on low HP, allowing her to damage me too much. And being the wet paper bag that Luvdisc is, I have no survivability and no healing. It doesn't help that one of her Bannettes has Thunderbolt as a move. I'm sure you can imagine how the battle plays out when she uses it. Basically, the moral of the story with Phoebe is that I effectively need to one-shot as many of her Pokemon as I can, so I can get through her in a consistent manner. There isn't a whole lot of strategy or luck abusing tactics here, other than leveling up. At level 73, I can get through her battle semi-consistently. Her second Banette and Sableye still being a range, but I avoid taking enough damage to take out her final Dusclops. And this leads me to the next battle, and definitely the most challenging battle of the run thus far, and that is Glacier. Glacier utilises Ice-type Pokemon, and whilst Ice-type on its own does not resist water, she has 3 dual-type Water-Ice Pokemon, 2 Sealeos, and 1 Walrein. Now, as you can see on this footage, I can barely damage Sealeo with Surf. It would take at least 4 Surfs to knock it out. Not only this, but Sealeo sets up Hail, which does continuous damage at the end of every single turn. And if that wasn't enough, Sealeo's Body Slam also has the chance to leave me paralysed, cutting my speed in half and effectively rendering Luvdisc useless. Yeah, this is going to be rough. Now you may be thinking, oh, you can just grind up to level 100 and you'll be fine. And while that may be true, what's the fun in that? Now, of course I'm not against leveling up to level 100. If there's no other option, then you have to do it. But half of the fun of these challenges is seeing what kind of strategies we can utilise at a low enough level to beat the Elite Four, even if that does encompass using one singular attack. But thankfully for us, we have a few different alleyways we can explore. That being said, I still do need to be a higher level than I am right now to make Glacier a more consistent fight. Now, I test the barrier at several different levels, but I end up deciding level 83 is around the best level to consistently fight Glacier. It also allows me to more effectively move through Sydney and Phoebe. We have explored those 2 previous fights and there isn't much to them, so at being level 83 it just speeds up the process. Now, that being said, I still can't brute force my way through at this level, and that was never really an option. So I'm racking my brain, I'm racking it over and over to come up with a good strategy. I tried using Hidden Power, which for my Luvdisc is a fire type move, but it does less damage than Surf to the Glalie, and it absolutely nothing to the Sealeos. And I thought, well, perhaps Dive is a good option. I will avoid hail damage and at least 1 hit, but all Dive really does is drag out the inevitable, which is death. And that's when it hit me. There is another option, and it's something that has been staring me in the face my entire playthrough, but I was too oblivious to it all, and that is the move Rain Dance. Now, as previously mentioned, Luvdisc's ability is Swift Swim, which doubles its speed in the rain. but that's not what is important here. Something that I neglected to think about here is what rain actually does when it is in effect. It lowers fire damage and it boosts water damage. Not only that, but if I utilise the move Rain Dance, I can totally negate Glacier's use of hail and avoid taking consistent hail damage. And with this eureka moment, I set up my new strategy. After teaching Luvdisc Rain Dance, using a couple rare candies to get it up to level 83 and equipping a citrus berry, we challenge Glacier to another battle. If there is any other weather effect, including neutral, in play, Glacier's Celios will always use hail. So on my first move, I hit Celio with a surf, and then the next turn I use Rain Dance to mitigate the hail that it just set up. This boosts my water type moves and puts Celio in range to be taken out with my second surf. And now I'm also in range to take down Glalie with one shot. Glacier sends out her second Celio and I use surf while it of course goes for hail. So then I take the opportunity to set up my second Rain Dance and then proceed to take down Celio with another surf. Of course the next Glalie goes down in one hit and we're up to the big boss, War Rain. I use surf and take War Rain down to almost half HP. War Rain also goes for surf and my citrus berry heals me some. I go for my second surf and War Rain goes down. Now that was definitely a high roll, but I'll take it. Next up is Drake, and honestly, he's a breeze. Even the Kingdra isn't much to worry about. Ice Beam basically handles his entire team, but with a small respite that Drake gives me, the champion of the Hoenn region, Wallace. Now, if I decided to attempt this challenge on Ruby and Sapphire, I genuinely believe the story would basically be over by now, because Steven's team is largely rock and steel type. But Wallace is a different story, as he's water type. Not only does he resist every move that I can use on him, he has Pokemon with ridiculously annoying movesets. His Tentacruel has Toxic and Sludge Bomb, Melodic has Toxic and Recover, and his Ludicolo has Giga Drain and Leech Seed. All of these moves are nightmares for me. I'm going to be honest, I just don't stand a chance. And even though I can successfully get through the Elite Four on a consistent basis at about level 84, Wallace is no comparison. Theoretically, I could use Attract on every one of his Pokemon besides Whiscash, due to its ability, and win due to them getting immobilized on every move. But the mathematical probability of that, I don't even know. Other than it's incredibly, incredibly unlikely. And to be honest, I wasn't about to gauntlet the Elite Four 1,000 times to find out. So, I break the rule. I break the rule on not saving between members. I concede this challenge and save before Wallace. Furthermore, I go back on my word about leveling up to 100. It has to be done. It's an understatement to say that this challenge broke me. I was just fed up. But despite saving before him and leveling up to a level 100, it still doesn't make this fight any easier. Now, I could use Double Team and Toxic and cheese the absolute crap out of him, but I already felt bad enough about me saving before the champ, so I'll do what I can with what I have. And like many gym leaders in this run, we luck out in our next battle. He sends out Wailord and I send out Heartbreak. I go for Attract, as that is the only strategy I can utilise to avoid taking damage. We promptly dispatch Wailord with 2 Surfs as he gets in a double edge. It doesn't do much damage though. Next up is Ludicolo, and this is make or break. If he gets in a Leech Seed, it's an auto loss. I go for Attract, and he avoids immobilization and uses Double Team. I use Ice Beam and get the freeze, but Ludicolo thaws out immediately and then goes for Leech Seed, but he misses. And then I take out Ludicolo with my second Ice Beam. That was seriously lucky. Next up is Tentacruel, an absolutely specially defensive beast with the power to poison me. I managed to get off an Attract and then a Rain Dance to boost my Surf, whilst Tentacruel remained immobilized this entire time. I go for Surf and Tentacruel is down to half HP, He stays immobilized, and yes, I can get through the first 3 Pokemon with minimal damage taken. Wallace then sends out Melodic, and of course I go for Attract first up. Melodic is immobilized for the first turn, but on the second turn hits me with a Toxic. But that's fine, because I have a Pecha Berry equipped, which cures the poison, but I cannot afford to get hit by Toxic for a second time. There continues to be some back and forth as Melodic uses Recover, and I have to set up another Rain Dance so I can do enough damage to take out Melodic. But we scrape by on the end with still 175 HP remaining. Just incredible. Out comes Whiscash and it goes down to a single Surf, as it has no resistance to Water type due to being part ground. Next up is Wallace's trump card, Gyarados. As is obvious by now, I use Attract and it sets up a Dragon Dance. Okay, not great. I go for Ice Beam, and Gyarados hits me with an Earthquake, which does surprisingly little damage, and then I dispatch it with a final Ice Beam. Well, what can I say other than this challenge was exhausting? Would I claim it as a success? Kind of. I beat the champion, but I failed the Elite Four Gauntlet. If I had more patience, it would have been more than achievable on my own terms. But regardless, the final battle was always going to be down to luck, and whether or not I could cheese my way through with Attract. But let's not forget that part of the reason I wanted to attempt this run was because of this. Some final considerations. Liza and Tate would be much easier with Rain Dance active, and it would be possible to defeat them at a lower level because of this. Also, the post-game battle is much easier than Wallace, but it was definitely no pushover, requiring the perfect timing of Rain Dance so you can take down Claydol in one shot and avoid it setting up Light Screen. I also critical hit a couple Pokemon. Look, I would go into more detail on the Steven fight, but I've been at this for hours and your boy needs some sleep. So, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking, and if you didn't like it, dislike the video, leave hate comments. I'll make sure to read every one of them. Also, if there is any other Pokemon you'd like to see me try on these kind of challenges, let me know. And if there is something more optimal you think I could have done for this run, well, I'm sure you've already commented that by now. Once again, thank you and see you next time.